Chris, we'll start in Texas, where Steve Sarkisian has said multiple times if he could pack two things for every game, it would be a defense and a run game. One of those things is now in question as C.J. Baxter and Christian Clark now out for the season. So that's two running backs. What do they do now?
Probably leave a little bit of room for the air in that suitcase because they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit this year with Quinn Ewers. It is not a good place to be for Texas to be at three scholarship running backs before the season even starts. The move to the SEC was already going to be arduous enough. It is a different style of play in that league. It is more physical. Texas is going to have to work through that league in a way they haven't in the Big 12 the last couple of years. But to do it with only three scholarship running backs is a really tall task. And Texas has national championship aspirations this year. And I think something people forget with the 12-team playoff and the expanded schedule is the eventual national champion will be playing 17 games. And to expect three scholarship running backs to make it through 17 games is a really tough task. Texas has already moved a linebacker, Darren Gillette, to running back to really bolster their numbers. But in reality, this is going to come down to three guys who are mostly unproven in their career. Jaden Blue, who was really good for Texas down the stretch last season, a bit of a home run threat. He said it's his money year, and now he has a chance to prove it. Trey Wisner, who's a sophomore, was the other running back in the class with C.J. Baxter last year. He was under the radar for Texas when he signed. He was kind of the other guy with Baxter. Now Texas is going to rely on him very heavily coming out of DeSoto High School. And then Jarrett Gibson, who was a top recruit in this class, is going to have a much bigger role than I think anybody anticipated. He should be ready. Was at IMG Academy, that powerhouse in Florida where they produce prospect after prospect. But there's just a lot of unproven names in this running back room for Texas right now, and it's really going to come down to Quinn Ewers being able to chuck it a lot to those receivers they took in the transfer portal.
Yeah, 200 combined offensive snaps for those three running backs you just mentioned. So if anything, they will have to overcome the inexperience on that part of the roster. Not the only running back injury we're looking at in the Lone Star State. Texas A&M dealing with the loss of Reuben Owens, the all-SEC freshman. So what kind of impact does his loss have on the Aggies?
This is a big deal, but not as big of a deal as the losses Texas is dealing with. And that's specifically because of the depth around Reuben Owens. I know Reuben Owens is the flashy big name, five-star recruit, certainly gets compensated quite a bit through NIL. Like, he was expected to have a breakout year, and he is a bit of a home run threat. But Texas A&M does bring back both Amari Daniels and Lavian Moss, who are their top two rushers from last year. Both of them were very effective, averaged better than 5 yards per carry, and Texas A&M's offensive line is expected to be much better. So there's help in the backfield for Texas A&M. A name people should probably know, and they'll probably perk up in hearing in the state of Texas, is E.J. Smith, transfer from Stanford. E.J. Smith is the son of Emmitt Smith, the legendary Dallas Cowboy Hall of Fame running back, NFL's all-time leading rusher. He'll get some run as well. So Texas A&M has pieces there. I think with Owens, what you lose is a bit of the home run pop. He is somebody who can make something out of nothing. And that's really important for an offense that really lacks established playmakers at wide receiver as well. So it is a blow for A&M, but it is much more digestible than what Texas is having to deal with, in my opinion.
Okay, so depth gets thinner, but we're not emergency level yet for the Aggies. Let's take a look at some quarterbacks during fall camp, starting in the Mitten State. Aiden Childs was rated the number 8 overall player in this past transfer portal cycle. He follows his head coach, Jonathan Smith, from Oregon State to Michigan State. What are you hearing about him as he preps for his first season as a starter?
Well, I think our transfer rankings team is going to look pretty smart. They made a pretty bold call to make Aiden Childs their number 1 quarterback over guys like Cam Ward, Will Howard, Riley Leonard. And I had a source tell me the other day that got to see Aiden Childs throw that he was pretty incredible. He really popped for this scouting source, and that's kind of been the rep on Aiden Childs all offseason. He was great as a true freshman last year in limited action behind DJU at Oregon State. And the Oregon State staff there raved about him. It's basically the same staff in East Lansing, and they continue to rave about him. He's going to start for Michigan State. And I think Michigan State has their best quarterback in at least a decade. I don't even really know who you'd go back to. Maybe somebody like Kirk Cousins or something like that to find the answer for Michigan State of their last quarterback of this level. I think Aiden Childs is legitimate NFL talent, and he is an amazing building block for Michigan State to have early in Jonathan Smith's tenure.
Okay, so no quarterback battle in East Lansing, but there could be one in Iowa City. And Chris, I know you were just so excited to talk about Iowa offense today. This quarterback battle really is interesting, though, because Cade McNamara came in, supposed to be the promised one. However, he's fighting back from back-to-back season-ending injuries. Brendan Sullivan comes in as insurance. However, he could have stayed the starter at Northwestern. Now it looks like he's challenging. How do you think this plays out, Chris?
Well, Grace, first, I say if you don't want to talk Iowa college football, Iowa offensive football, you don't love college football,
True.
because
Sickles only.
there have been very few subjects entertaining as Iowa offensive football the last couple of years. Iowa obviously brought in a new offensive coordinator in Tim Lester to potentially speed up the offense, maybe modernize it a bit, maybe some more spread principles in there, more than what they've done recently. But it really comes down to like healthy quarterback play. I think that's part of the reason Iowa's offense struggled so much last year. Cade McNamara suffered a second season-ending injury early in the year, and really he had been dealing with something all off-season. So Iowa still hasn't seen a healthy Cade McNamara. He is healthier now, but it was a struggle in the scrimmage. I believe Cade McNamara had an incredible stat line of 8 for 24 for 20 yards with a pick six, and I just want to stress that he completed 8 passes for 20 yards in a scrimmage against his own defense. Oof. So that does open the door for somebody like Brendan Sullivan. Our guys at Hawkeye Insider, David Eichholt and Sean Bach, have done a great job covering this battle. And I tend to agree with them that Cade McNamara remains the favorite in this battle. I'd be surprised if he wasn't the starter. But Brendan Sullivan, somebody who has started football games, as you said, at Northwestern, who Iowa purposely went out and got to add not only experience in the room, but to add maybe like an emergency contact of sorts for the quarterback position, given Cade McNamara's history. Like, Sullivan is somebody who can step in and play for Iowa and has played before. So this is an interesting battle to watch over the next couple of weeks. I'd be surprised if it wasn't McNamara still, but it's competition, which is probably not what you want to see if you're an Iowa offensive fan.
I mean, 8 for 24 and a pick six against your own I physically winced when you said that. They might be just cursing.
They're benching you on NCAA football if you do that. Like you're getting benched. So I'm sure Cade McNamara will be better. It wasn't the best performance. He's been more consistent in practice, as I've heard behind the scenes, but that is not the public display you want to show.
No. Okay. Well, there are a few more fireworks expected down at LSU, where tight end Trey'Dez Green, he's attempting to be a dual sport athlete. Typically, you see fall and spring. He's trying fall and winter, football and basketball. So that'll be exciting to see. But apparently his athleticism living up to the hype in fall camp. What are you hearing about him?
Well, we spent so much of the offseason talking about all the receivers from the 2024 class, and justifiably so. But Trey'Dez Green is somebody that's drawing headlines and eyeballs at LSU this offseason. You mentioned the two-sport thing. This is somebody who had multiple Division I basketball offers, like high major offers to play. He obviously went the football route. He was our number 2 tight end in the 2024 class. He's already established himself as a spectacular catch machine in practice for LSU. He's consistently gone up and snatched the football away with his 6'7", 245-pound frame. I think the question mark for Trey'Dez was his physicality coming off the basketball court. A lot of times you get those guys coming off. They don't want to block. They don't want to fight for the ball in the air in that way. But I think people in the LSU program have been very impressed by Trey'Dez's ability to aggressively go up for the ball and to fight for it in the air and to show some physicality in addition to his ability to just win 50-50 balls because of his length. And he is somebody that's really flashed. I had somebody tell me he was the standout of fall camp early on for LSU. Mason Taylor is going to start for LSU, no question, one of the best tight ends in the country. But don't be surprised if Trey'Dez Green pops up a couple times in the red zone for LSU, because he's a legitimate difference maker for them.
All right, we are 10 days away from the Week 0 kickoff. Chris Hummer, what are you most looking forward to this season?
I'm just ready. I cover the transfer portals, like I'm sure a lot of people know that are following this, and I'm ready to see those guys on the field. But mostly I'm just ready for my Saturdays to be 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. of college football again. It's the best, and please bring it on. But the 12-team playoff is going to be a lot of fun. I'm not a fan of the expanded playoff, but I am excited for the importance of games down the stretch. I think teams are going to be more in the mix than they have in a long time, and those November late October, early November games are going to matter a ton, which I think is going to be very healthy for the sport.
Hey, you are so right. I miss those 10 a.m. start times, watching Pac-12 After Dark till 2 a.m. RIP the Pac-12, but it'll be a fun season up ahead. Chris Hummer, thanks so much. And for more articles from Chris, all his fantastic transfer portal coverage, for wall-to-wall team coverage on your favorite team, maybe your enemy team as well, check out 247sports.com. Our team site experts keeping you in the know with information, breaking news that you cannot find anywhere else. That's 247sports.com.